There is a place hidden somewhere in the mountains, a place that shouldn't exist at a village that appears only once a year. 10 minutes. Then it's gone, like mist melting under the sun. Most people who hear this story call it a myth, a local legend whispered by shepherds and travelers. But every legend begins somewhere, and this one begins with a sound. A single, distant sound that repeats every year on the same day, even though nothing is supposed to be there. This is the story of the village that exists for only 10 minutes, and the people who claim to have seen it. Chapter 1. The sound in the fog. The first documented mention of the phenomenon comes from the early 1900s. A group of workers hiking along an old mountain trail reported hearing bells echoing from deep inside the valley. They described it as a church bell, slow, metallic, and far too heavy to be carried by the wind. The strange part, according to official maps, the valley was empty. No church, no buildings, no settlements. For years, the story was dismissed as superstition, but the sound kept coming back, always on the same date, always in the late afternoon, and always followed by a sudden, unnatural fog that swallowed the entire valley. Locals began calling it the Day of the Fog. They say that when the fog rolls in, the mountain becomes quiet. Too quiet. Birds stop chirping. The wind becomes still. Even animals refuse to move toward the valley. And then, the bell rings. Once. Twice. 3 times. A slow, mournful melody drifting through the air. But the strangest part is this. No one has ever found the bell. Chapter 2. The cartographer's discovery in 1938. A young cartographer named Elian Drever was sent to map the surrounding mountains. He planned to spend only 2 days in the area. Instead, he stayed for 3 weeks. On the 10th day of his survey, he walked along the ridge overlooking the valley. Thick fog began to gather, something that rarely occurred at that time of year. The air grew colder, the atmosphere heavier, and then he heard it. A bell, deep, slow, echoing up from the white sea of fog below. Drever froze. He knew that the valley was marked as uninhabited territory. He had walked through it 2 days earlier. There was nothing there. Yet the sound was real. Too real. He wrote in his field notes. I heard a bell where no bell should be, and through the fog I saw the silhouette of a steeple. It lasted no more than a minute. The next day, when the fog cleared, he returned to the exact same spot. The valley was empty again. No steeple, no houses, no path leading to anywhere. Just grass, rocks, and silence. Drever documented everything carefully, but his report was ignored. The officials called it an illusion caused by exhaustion. But Drever was certain about what he saw, and for the rest of his life he returned to the valley every year, on the same day at the same hour, and every year the fog returned. But he never saw the village again. He only heard the bell. Chapter 3. The hiker who followed the sound. Decades passed. The legend faded. Until 1999, a young hiker named Mira Collins recorded the phenomenon on a portable audio device. She had been camping with 2 friends on the northern ridge when the fog rolled in unexpectedly. The temperature dropped, the forest fell silent, and then the bell began to ring. You can still hear the recording today, a faint metallic chime echoing in the distance. But what Mira described next is far more unsettling. She said the fog formed a straight, narrow path leading down into the valley. Not a trail made by humans, but a seemingly perfect corridor of low fog. As if something wanted her to walk through it, her friends begged her not to go. But she went anyway. As she stepped into the fog, the bell rang again. Louder this time, clearer, closer. She described the strange sensation of walking through air that felt thick, like the world around her was slower, heavier, quieter. Mira said she saw something move ahead of her. Rooftops, wooden frames, a tower. She could faintly make out the outline of a street leading between small houses. Everything looked old, abandoned, and frozen in time, but strangely intact. And then she saw a figure, a silhouette standing near what looked like a well in the center of the village. Before she could get closer, the fog thickened suddenly. Like a curtain closing, the outline of the village faded, the figure dissolved, the path disappeared. She tried to move forward, but her foot hit solid ground, a rock. No more path, no more fog corridor. She stepped back onto normal terrain. The village was gone. The sound stopped. When she returned to her friends, less than 15 minutes had passed. The only evidence she brought back was that one recording. Experts who analyzed it confirmed the bell sound was real, but they couldn't identify the origin or the echo pattern. The valley's geography didn't match the acoustics. Something was off. Chapter 4. The lost settlement. Local historians believe the legend points to a real village that vanished more than a century ago. A settlement known as Hallowmere, though its exact location was never confirmed. According to old records, Hallowmere was evacuated after a severe winter that destroyed most of their crops. The people left in search of safer ground, but many of them never arrived at their destination. Their final fate remains unknown. The strangest part, in the old map archives, Hallowmere is marked with a tiny circle, exactly where the mysterious fog appears today. Some say the village left a mark on the land, an echo of the past that resurfaces for just a moment each year. Others believe the fog is a memory, a loop of time replaying itself, a place stuck between existence and disappearance. But there is another theory, a far more unsettling one. Chapter 5. The theory of resonance. Some researchers believe the bell is the key. They call it the resonance theory, the idea that certain sounds can trigger memory-like imprints in the environment. According to this theory, the bell was rung on the village's final day, perhaps as a warning or a farewell. And somehow, under the right conditions of humidity, pressure, and temperature, the sound reappears. Like an echo trapped in time, a loop, a ripple, a reminder. But if that were true, then why did Mira see the whole village? Why did Drever see the steeple? Why does the structure appear briefly, then fade? That part of the mystery remains unsolved. Chapter 6. The 10-minute window. Every reported sighting shares the same details. The fog always arrives on the same date. It lasts between 8 and 12 minutes. A bell rings exactly 3 times. A narrow path appears leading into the valley. The village becomes visible, but only faintly. Then everything disappears instantly, almost as if the village exists, but only for a moment. Not long enough to study, not long enough to explore, just long enough to remind you that something is there, something waiting behind the fog. Chapter 7. The most recent encounter. The most recent sighting occurred in 2022, when a drone operator accidentally flew over the valley during the fog event. The drone's camera footage shows nothing but white, except for a single impossible detail. A perfectly straight shadow cutting across the fog, a shadow shaped exactly like a rooftop. The footage was analyzed by engineers who said the shadow didn't match any of the terrain below. It looked like the shadow of an object that wasn't physically present. The operator claims he didn't see the village with his own eyes, but the shadow was there, and the drone's microphone captured a faint metallic chime at the same moment. Only one note, but unmistakably a bell. Chapter 8. The door that shouldn't exist. One more detail unites many witnesses. They all describe seeing a door, not a door to a house, not a gate, but a single, freestanding wooden door standing alone in the fog. Some say it appears at the entrance of the valley. Others say it stands inside the village. One witness described it as a door waiting for someone. No one has ever touched it, and no one knows what it leads to. Or whether it leads anywhere at all. But it is always described the same way: old, weathered, closed, and always gone the moment the fog lifts. Chapter 9. The next appearance. According to local tradition, the fog returns on the same date every year. Those who follow the legend believe that the village chooses who sees it, and that it never appears the same way twice. Some go looking for it. Most return with nothing. A few hear the bell. 1 or 2 claim to see the rooftops, and once in a lifetime, someone sees the entire village. Those who study the phenomenon say the next appearance is expected soon, somewhere in the mountains. The fog will begin to rise, the wind will fall silent, the temperature will drop, and then the bell will ring 3 times, just as it has for more than a century. And if the stories are true, the village will appear again. For 10 minutes, and no more and no less. A ghost of a place, a memory trapped in time, a moment suspended between worlds, and once the fog fades, the village disappears, leaving only silence and a question that no one has been able to answer. What really happened to the village that appears only once a year?